Applied Linguistics Group uploaded this video for BS English students. Dr. Khalid Malik, the founder, has a PhD in Applied Linguistics TESOL. Having more than 25 research papers, he taught at many foreign universities and in a postdoctoral study program. Join Applied Linguistics Group at youtube.com/@1966Pakistani or use a QR code to join our Facebook group at
BS English, Level, BS 8th Semester Course Code, ELL 408, Introduction to Translation Studies, the 31st of May 2023, Question 09, by Dr. Khalid Malik, PhD Applied Linguistics. Question number 10. Polysystem Theories of Translation. Polysystem Theory. The polysystem theory, a theory in the field of translation studies, implies using polyvalent factors as an instrument for explaining the complexity of culture within a single community, and between communities. Analyzing sets of relations in literature and language, it gradually shifted towards a more complex analysis of socio-cultural systems. The polysystem theory has been embraced by students of literature and culture all over the world. Its foremost advocate is linguist Itamar Ibn Zohar. American scholar Edwin Gentzler is another important contributor to this viewpoint. In 1978, Itamar Ibn Zohar constructed a research program that dealt with literary systems rather than text. It allowed researchers to break away from the normative notion of literature and culture as limited sets of highbrow products and explore a multi-layered interplay between center and periphery, and canonized and non-canonized. Zohar emphasized that translated literature operates as a system. 1. In the way the TL selects work for translation. 2. In the way translation norms, behavior, and policies are influenced by other co-systems. Shuttleworth and Cowie, 1997:176, follows, the polysystem is conceived as a heterogeneous, hierarchized conglomerate, or system, of systems which interact to bring about an ongoing dynamic process of evaluation within the polysystem as a whole. Dynamic process of evaluation is vital to the polysystem. Broadly, there are two types of systems: 1. Innovatory system, 2. Conservative system. Both the systems are in constant state of flux and competition. Because of this flux, the position of translated literature is not fixed either. It may occupy a primary or a secondary position in the polysystem. Primary, innovatory. It participates actively in shaping the center of the polysystem. It is likely to be innovatory and linked to major events of literary history as they are taking place. Often, leading writers produce the most important translations, and translations are a leading factor in the formation of the new models for the target culture, introducing new poetics, techniques, and so on. Zohar gives three major cases where translated literature occupies the primary position. 1. When a young literature is being established and looks initially to older ones for ready-made models. 2. When a literature is peripheral or weak and imports those literary types which it is lacking. This can happen when a smaller nation is dominated by the culture of a larger one, or this can happen within a nation where various levels of literary canons exist. For example, within Spain, Galicia imports many translations from the dominant Spanish form Castilian. On the other hand, Spain itself imports canonized and non-canonized literature from English-speaking world. 3. When there is a critical turning point in the literary history at which the established models are no longer considered sufficient, or when there is a vacuum in the literature of the country. Where no type holds sway, it is easier for foreign models to assume primacy. Secondary, conservative. It represents a peripheral system within the polysystem. It has no major influence over the central system and even becomes a conservative element, preserving conventional forms and conforming to the literary norms of the target system. Secondary position is normal one for translated literature. However, translated literature itself is stratified. Translation strategy. Position occupied by translated literature in the polysystem conditions the translation strategy. If it is primary, translators do not tend to follow target literature models and are more prepared to break conventions. They thus produce a TT that is close match in terms of adequacy, reproducing the textual relations of the ST. This itself may, then lead to new SL models. If it is secondary, translators tend to use existing target culture models for the TT and produce more non-adequate translations. Gensler sums up polysystem theory as per the following. 1. Literature itself is studied alongside the social, historical, and cultural forces. 2. Even Zohar moves away from the isolated study of individual texts towards the study of translation within the cultural and literary systems in which it functions. 3. The non-prescriptive definition of equivalence and adequacy allows for variation according to cultural and historical situation of the text. The last point helped theorists to escape from the constant use of concept of equivalence in 1960s and 1970s. Critique by Gensler. 1. Overgeneralization to universal laws of translation based on relatively little evidence. 2. Over-reliance on formalist model of 1920s, Zohar later evolved it, thus contradictory to its own theory, and might be inappropriate for translated texts in the 1970s. 3. The tendency to focus on the abstract model rather than the real-life constraints placed on texts and translators. 4. How far the supposed scientific model is objective. In conclusion, not only is the socio-literary status of translation dependent upon its position within the polysystem, but the very practice of translation is also strongly subordinate to that position. Thus, translation is no longer a phenomenon whose nature and borders are given once and for all, but an activity dependent on the relations within a certain cultural system.
Applied Linguistics Group uploaded this video for BS English students. Dr. Khalid Malik, the founder, has a PhD in Applied Linguistics TESOL. Having more than 25 research papers, he taught at many foreign universities and in a postdoctoral study program abroad. Join Applied Linguistics Group at youtube.com/@1966Pakistani or use a QR code to join our Facebook group at